Moving on to segment 2, let's talk about the Alumni Network and Prachiti Group. Alumni Network, Prachiti Group and Alumni Foundation, these three groups you have been instrumental in forming and making these active, thereby contributing to Dr. Appa vision of nation building. When it is so difficult to get people together and do something meaningful nowadays, how have you been able to do that with a good amount of traction?
This question I would not have been able to answer spontaneously, so I had to think about that, and that really helped, thinking about what actually was the traction. So what I thought was, obviously perseverance is required when you deal with people and want to change people, transform people. You need a lot of perseverance. With that comes the understanding of other people's mind, which I will label as emotional quotient. And I think I have got a good emotional quotient. So I can communicate, I can understand people, and most importantly, I can accept the lacuna in other people. If there are weaknesses, I would not like to point on that, but I would like to work on that or help them to come over that. So that could be my strength of connecting with people, understanding their personality weaknesses and still accepting them as my close ones. A genuine concern could be one more thing. The way I said, my motivation is basically affiliation motivation. So I am sure about the genuinity of my concern about these issues, and that might be getting reflected, or other people might be able to recognize that, and then they stay with me. So these things I think are important. So this I could gather a few years back, that that way I am a workaholic person, but when I get some failures in those areas, obviously all these areas or projects, as we said, they are challenging and there are sometimes failures also. I can go back to my philosophical self and think about very wider aspects like cosmos and what will happen after 1 billion years when sun won't be there, etc. So that is a solace for me, that if work is not delivering, then I have a philosophical space for me. When there I feel that I am losing meaning, that nothing is coming out of that, and I can't think about any meaningful thing happening in the universe or the cosmos or at the philosophical level, I can come back to my action space and work with that. So I think these two aspects I could manage properly, and hence they could lead to the sustenance of efforts in these various directions.
Right. So you are able to oscillate between action space and cosmos. So that's really interesting. You have been instrumental in running successful alumni groups and also in forming special purpose groups, professional groups, and there is one more, national integration group.
Yes.
Yes. Of civil service officers. So it requires tremendous effort, networking skills to bring together successful, geographically diverse people from all over the world. So please share your views on these groups and what they intend to achieve, and B, what is your vision on how they should function and contribute to JP's vision?
So I think first we'll talk about two main groups. One is the Prachiti group, which I started in engineering college and then spread to medical college and other arts and science colleges also. And Prachiti activity and bringing them together, the organizational effort, it stopped after initial 8 years in 1998. But then all those who got Prachiti inputs of going for a socially meaningful career, we are still together. And thanks to WhatsApp, I use WhatsApp a lot for networking as well as all these organizational work also. We can communicate easily with each other and we can trace people also. So we have a group of Prachiti people, those who are working in different fields, different national issues, and still we are together, we share a lot. Two more groups are added to that recently. One is the group of our competitive examination center students who, instead of becoming officers, have selected public policy or developmental sector as their career and are working in various capacities. And there is another group of past students who are either fellows somewhere, CM fellow or Prime Minister fellow, or they have studied in Azim Premji University or TIS. So these three groups, I think they are similar groups, though they are separately networked, and they work in public policy and social sector from a different perspective, and they are delivering a lot. In fact, Prachiti people have contributed to JP also. The present principal is a Prachiti product, you can say. The leader of the Prabodhini's extension program, who leads from Amba Jogai Prasad, is a Prachiti product. The leader of the Prabodhini's rural development wing, Vivek, is a Prachiti fellow. So we brought a lot of them in JP direct work also. But I am also proud of others who have started their own endeavors or joined their own different institutions and are doing really well there. And in Prachiti, our ideology was development as the ideology. So we could bring together various factions, rightist and leftist, capitalist and socialist. So all different sorts of people were there, but they could stick together, had a good bonding, because we brought a broader perspective of development as ideology and collaboration as the work culture. So that way Prachiti, I think, is really delivering. It's like the first child. So Prachiti has started when I just came back from IIT and joined COEP. And they are into entrepreneurship, they are journalists, they are their own voluntary organizations. Some are into people's movements also, with Medha Patkar. They are into media, research, think tanks also, and education, health, obviously these sectors. Coming to JPPAF, Jnana Prabodhini Prashala Alumni Foundation, when I was in COEP, I was leading the youth wing of Prabodhini long back. From 90 to 93, I was the Yuvak Sachiv, and that time I thought of bringing people whom we have lost back to Prabodhini's work, and I started making gatherings of earlier department heads of youth wing and Pratidnit. We have a pledge system in Prabodhini, first, second, third and fourth pledges are taken. So those who have taken such pledges to work for the country, I started making their gatherings. And from that, the concept of past students started. In fact, initially I was opposed by my own friends and classmates because Appa did not like this word of past students. Okay. His tagline was, once a student of Prabodhini is always a member of Prabodhini. Okay. So I said, right, they are members of Prabodhini, but we can say that they are past students. Now they are no more students of Prabodhini, though they can learn from Prabodhini. And then we started Maji Vidyarthi Mandal. There were lots of false starts. First time we had a book of their addresses and other thing, locations. Then we went into floppy thing, and now we have a very good database. But those false starts, they resulted in the Jnana Prabodhini Medical Trust of past students, which now runs the Dinanath Mangeshkar Hospital. We also tried hands at export and information technology firm, which we had to break after a few years of good work. So there were good outputs, but then it was not sustained. After a few years it has to come down, but when Golden Jubilee of Prashala came in 2019, that time really it took off, and now it has been sustaining. And to sustain that, we have a Section 8 company also. And I was fortunate to be on the steering committee and also the transition committee and now the Section 8 Executive Council. So for last 3-4 years, we have started that. JPP is a very unique school, and we had, you must remember that, very special inputs, which we never get in any other schools, because I have experienced a very good school in Pune also, like Nutan Marathi and Prabodhini also. But the social concern that is taught here and the motivation to work for the people, for the country, it is not taught in other schools. So value education is very important, and those values are somewhere dormant in the minds of alumni. I believe in that. And whenever they get a chance, they get an opportunity, get some space with their work and family life, it will come out. And from that point of view, we have started these special purpose groups. There are 6 groups in health, in higher education, in environment, in art and culture, in technology, in emerging technologies, and national integration and national security. And I think that really will add a lot to the progress of Prabodhini, or the scaling up of Prabodhini, or the impact of Prabodhini. It's a very rich alumni. No other school our alumni can compare with the alumni of IITs and IIMs. We have such richness in our students, and many of it's a 4-generation range also, from 18 years to 78 years, 60 years spread. So they can always hold hand, they can mentor, they can come together, the youthfulness and the experience can come together, the required cutting edge expertise of the young people that can also be brought together. So if these things really materialize, it could be a big contribution to not only Prabodhini but to country also. So for the last 4 years, many of us are working on that, and many of the first 2-3 batch students are coming together, and they are giving a lot of time to develop this Alumni Foundation. We have horizontals, so we plan to go for research and advocacy to affect policy, and then we can go for actually various field projects so that we develop good practices. So a lot to achieve, and let's see actually how it unfolds, but really a big potential for Prabodhini in that.
Yes, definitely. And I think it's such an uphill task to bring together such diverse groups, and you have been able to do that, so that's really commendable.
It's a collective effort, that should be noted. That so many in our steering committee and executive council, they are giving such a large amount of time. Some have retired actually, but some are still having their own careers and finding time for the alumni activities.
Yes, and I think Alumni Foundation is now working from different countries.
Yeah, good you mentioned that, because we might have given a lot of credit to Jnana Prashala Alumni Foundation, but there is a Jnana Foundation in US, and I don't have a single zero credit in that. That's why I would like to mention it, that another Kulkarni, Pranav, he took a lot of efforts to create that foundation. A very senior person who has been in America and has worked with different foundations, Vidyatai Hardikar, she is the mentor of that foundation, and it's a young lot who passed out in the last 10-15 years, and they are really working well, and they have created WhatsApp groups in all the 7 continents, and about 800 students from Pune Prashala, from Nigdi, Solapur, from our youth wing. So they are more inclusive than us, and they have a larger spread. They are a more voluntary type of functioning. They don't have a formal company as such, though they have registered foundation. So that's really another good thing, and we are trying to come together actually, JPF and JPPF, and that coming together will definitely be a great contribution from JP's point of view.
Right. I was part of one such group, and I think Akash Saukase was leading it. Yeah.